My name is Muna Nash, and I'm the owner of Lovejoy's Tea Room of Ashland. I'm here at 96 North Main Street, number 201, just a little bit away from Lithia Park, which is kind of the central point of Ashland, Oregon. We're an English-style tea room, and we serve what's called afternoon tea service, which means little sandwiches with the crust cut off. We serve wonderful English-style scones with clotted cream and preserves, toasted crumpets with lemon curds, sweets, of course, lots of tea choices. And we have a room in the back called the parlor. And the parlor is where you would book in a full afternoon tea service. You want to allow about 2 hours for that. It's a very leisurely, very traditional style tea time. And then up front, where we're all sitting right now, is a little more casual. You can just pop in and have some crumpets and tea or salad or soup and just hang out for a bit. Tell us about your favorite thing about this business, and definitely the people that come in. I've worked many, many years in the restaurant industry, and I've run now tea rooms for the last 25. And this is a very niche kind of business. Predominantly women come in, but a few good men also join us for tea time. But the customers are it's a very homey, kind of nurturing vibe that we present, and then we get that feeling back from our customers. So it's just a really special place to work. Tell us your proudest moment about owning your own business. My best friend from college and I opened up our first tea room 25 years ago, and I'd say our proudest moment was doing that. I mean, we were both kind of like, we did lots of different things. She was a stage manager and I was living in Ireland. We just were always doing lots of different things, and we heard about this little tea room that was for sale in San Francisco, and we decided to just try it as a lark. And it ended up growing into a very successful business in San Francisco. It's the oldest tea room in San Francisco, and we sold that location about 9 years ago. But probably the proudest moment was when we realized we actually had pulled it off, that we were now business owners. We had no idea what we were doing, but we were somehow doing it. And sometimes we would just look at each other and start giggling like, I can't believe we're doing this. So vendor rundown. Okay, well, I'm very, very old school, and I am probably the only person left who writes out tickets by hand. And my bookkeeper laughs at me because I turn in my monthly receipts to her all written out by hand. And we do have credit card processing. We have a website, and I have somebody who helps me with payroll. But the vibe that I want to maintain is an old-fashioned one, and I'm also an old-fashioned person. So many people have suggested that it'd be a lot easier if we did have Square or something where we could go to the tables with the credit card machine, but I'm uncomfortable bringing that in. I will say that I am fully aware that there's probably a lot easier ways to do things than how I'm doing it. So every now and then I'm a little bit open to change, but so far, very old school. What's one challenge you're facing, and how can the community help? Well, COVID was a huge challenge for any or most small businesses. And I had been dreaming of coming to Ashland for many, many years. And in 2020, in January, I said to myself, I better just do it, because if I don't do it, I'm not going to do it. And this is on my bucket list. So I signed my 5-year lease, and 1 month later, COVID had shut everything down. So that was a very big challenge to me because I had a plan in place, and I've opened up 5 tea rooms, and they've all been super successful. And I was suddenly facing the reality that I had signed a 5-year lease. I couldn't get out of the lease, and that I was, close to 60, and this was really bad. But in this little town is a tourist town. So on top of it, of course, tourism just came to a halt, and also the fires stopped everything. So those have all been challenges to not only myself, but most of the small businesses here in Ashland. I will say that this year, there's a real sense of hope. The tourists are back. It's been our busiest summer. My 5-year lease ends in February of next year, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that maybe this year might be the year that will turn it around and I can keep the business going. And the way that the community can help me is supporting my business. Coming in, I do rely on tourism, but I love it when locals come in, and there's a lot you can do here, like celebrate baby showers and birthday parties and bridal showers. So if the community enjoys having this style of a restaurant here in town, then I'd love them to patronize it. I heard of Merchant Maverick when you reached out to me, and I'm very impressed with what you're doing and the little bit that you've told me about it. It just sounds like a really great group. Yeah, really a great resource for small businesses. What is your top piece of advice for small business owners just starting out? Well, the reality is when you own a small business is that it's all up to you. Like, staff doesn't show up, well, you've got to do, 4 jobs. Dishwasher doesn't come, you put on those gloves and do the dishwashing. My motto ever since we started our first business was learn every aspect of your business, so that although you can't do it without your team, it's really important to have a great team, and I'm lucky because I do, but you have to know every detail about your business so that if somebody doesn't come or you can't fill that position, you're able to jump into it. And you also need to be prepared to feel like this is your child, or you've now like taken on a new family member that needs constant attention. And one thing, when my best friend, as I mentioned, and I first opened up our business, like, we had a lot of growing pains and we had never had a fight in our life. And now we were like at each other's throats. So we had to get like counseling, like couples counseling for our business. And one of the nice things that the therapist said is, you have a colicky baby right now. You're 3 years into your business. You're at that awkward place where the money is not coming in yet, but you see that there's hope, and, you have a colicky baby and you're both tired. So when we kind of thought of it that way, we relaxed into like, this is just hard right now and we'll get through it. So for me, because I am a kind of controlling person, to admit it, I can control every aspect of this. If I want to do this, then I'm going to do that. And if it doesn't go over well, it's my fault, but I'm okay with it because I made that decision. So I like having control over decisions rather than somebody telling me how to do things. And I think everyone has different temperaments. I mean, you have to be a risk taker if you're a small business owner, and that's not for everyone. So I do like taking risks. This was the first time that a risk didn't pay off. So it was a great learning experience for me to realize that it doesn't always go the way you want it to. But I do like having the power to make the decisions. My background when I got out of college, I did a little bit of traveling. I always loved traveling because I grew up as a child in Costa Rica and in Brazil. So my family traveled a lot. And so I graduated from college, took a year off, and then came back and started working in marketing and PR. And I would drive to work, to my little office, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is my life. And, it was a good job and everyone, thought it was great, but I just wasn't happy. So I did that for a few years, and then I quit my job, and I had saved $1,000, and I went to travel, and I traveled for 3.5 years. Just with my backpack, and I would find odd jobs. My base would always be in London because from London you can get anywhere in Europe. And then I had in my head, like, 3 years, you have to end it and get back to reality. So 2 weeks before that 3-year, I decided to go to Ireland because I'd never been to Ireland. I fell in love with Ireland. And when I was in Dublin, there was a sign that said, come to our 200-year-old stone building hostel. We need help. I'm like, oh, I'll just go check it out. And I ended up staying there for another couple of years. So that's kind of how I ended up in Ireland and in England. And then sadly, my dad got really ill. So I came home to help my mom with my dad. And then when he passed away, it just didn't feel right to go back to that kind of lifestyle. So I'd always wanted to live in San Francisco, and I decided to move to San Francisco, and I convinced my best friend, who was traveling with her, managing theater groups to move to San Francisco. So we were both doing odd jobs, and then this tea room opportunity came up. So that's how that came about. But home, I guess, is here now. Yeah. And also Pacifica, California, which is just a coastal town outside of the city. That's where I have another little tea room that my best friend runs. And I have a house there. So my original plan when I opened up this location was I had a manager in place, and I would travel to both locations. And we were also selling Lovejoy's opportunities to other people. And pre-COVID, we had already sold 3, and then 2 of them were in the making that, obviously once COVID happened, we allowed them to back out of the deal. So my original plan pre-COVID was I would travel back and forth, but due to COVID, I am very hands-on here and one of the 3 staffs. So we're recovering. There's no way I can hire, like a team to be here and me not be here, which was what I envisioned this opportunity to be. But it's been super interesting because I really do love it here. I mean, I'm spending a lot more time here than I ever thought I would, and I love it. It's a great little town, yeah. That tea room is extremely successful. We had a staff of 17 when we sold it, and for me personally, it had grown too big. Financially, it was extremely successful, but like giving that information about how I like to control things and I like the old way of doing things, everything was like really big for my temperament. So I opened up a little tiny one in Pacifica while we still owned the big one. And we had a manager running the one in San Francisco. And then I had this little baby, I called it the baby. It only sat like 12 people. And it was like, oh, I love this little tiny one. But you can't financially live off a tiny little business like that. But I still had the income coming from the city. So it's the oldest tea room. I think I mentioned that in San Francisco, still widely successful. It was bought by an Irish woman and an English woman, and they're good friends, so they're running it, and you have to book reservations about 6 weeks ahead of time, and so that's that business. Yeah,
a testament to your hard work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's exactly what you want, is to grow the business. And you had asked to share a little bit about business opportunities and our licensing program, and we have chosen to put that on hold right now because it's not really financially sustainable business model right now. And this would be the model to tell people about. So you walk in and it's, a lot of people every day. It's, oh, I'd love to have a tea room. But the reality is we want to feel comfortable selling the concept when we can show the numbers are really working. And they are working in San Francisco, but that's because it's been there and it's San Francisco. But I would not be comfortable until we really see a recovery in the economy to begin selling this to other people, because there is an initial investment that people need to make. These are my own, yes, but I do love to cook, and this is very, it's can't say that we're really cooking here, but we're making these cute little sandwiches, and I like to come in early in the mornings and I do all the prep for the day, and then in the wintertime I do soups. I love doing soups, and if I ever do another business, I want to have just a soup shop, like a soup kitchen. So that's kind of my next imagined business. Well, you chose 2 of my favorites. I like strong flavors. So, the curry chicken obviously has all those notes of ginger and curry and coriander. And then the devil's egg has like a little splash of paprika and cayenne in there. I also like the roast beef and horseradish, but the real classic ones are the cucumber and cream cheese, of course. That's usually on everybody's list of sandwich. And these are in the top 5, so. Yes, we do. We do. So most of the things on the wall are decor, but then we have teapots for sale. We have, just lots of items related to tea. So if you wanted to have your own tea party at home, you could come in here and do some shopping and create, the same experience at home. We sell china, teacups, mix match, as well as sets. sometimes people will be drinking out of a teacup and they'll want it and they can buy it. Yeah, so, you know, it's really interesting because we have so many different types of china, but at least one time a day, someone will sit down and they'll say, oh my gosh, this was my great aunt's pattern. And that kind of stuff I really love because it's a little woohoo and it's like, yeah, isn't that weird that out of all the tables you would sit there and that's your aunt's china? So I love that kind of thing. And that happens a lot here. Well, because we've been in the business for so long, we work with several different tea purveyors. The most traditional ones are Taylors of Harrogate. They're a really well-known English tea purveyor. And we get our specialty black teas from them. And then we have about 5 other tea purveyors that we work with. I do love floral teas. So a lot of the blends that I create, like the Midnight in Paris that you chose, is one of my creations. And that has notes of bergamot, which is what you taste in an Earl Grey. And then it has a little hint of vanilla and some organic lavender in there. So I create a lot of blends using floral notes. Well, you get one more thing with this service, and I'm going to bring it out. It's a tray of sweets, and you get to choose a sweet. And a couple of them are locally made, so it might be kind of fun to see. There's a really nice business. I don't know if you can fit them in, but they're Branson's chocolates. You are? Oh, great. Well, I have her chocolates, and she's now, she's now creating like a line of tea-infused chocolates for us. And they're fabulous. And they're a mom and pop business. Like she's the chocolatier and her husband's there working with her, and you're going to enjoy meeting them. Yeah.
I love that connection.
Yeah. That's a really cute thing about this. It's like, it's kind of like everyone knows each other and everyone's just so helpful and kind. I mean, I felt very welcome that, you know, I was like, oh, I wonder what they're going to think of this city girl coming here. But like, I was very welcomed in. And Dina, who you'll meet at Branson's, like, she's been just amazing. Like, I love these chocolates she's creating. And it's, you know, like, she's like, do you want to try this one? Do you want to? It's like, yes. Oh, that's perfect. That works great. Yeah, let me get those chocolates. That's really, I'm so happy you're going to go meet them.